Welcome to Gunfighter Life, a Christian-based, no-shilling podcast, where we talk about guns, gunfighting, tactics, ballistics, the right way with Almighty God at the center, biblical, Judeo-Christian values, and real-world first-hand experience. Bio bullet points in the show notes. Blessed be the Lord, my rock, who trains my hands for war and my fingers for battle. Today we're going to talk about a comment or question I got on Patreon that I thought was really good. And I thought, if this guy has these questions, likely many of you guys have these questions about shotguns, because it seems like, unless you're like a hardcore skeet shooter, sporting clays, something like that, that's its own thing and its own specialty shotgun. Most of the gun community, the gun tube glitterati, is not pushing a shotgun the way that it should be. It's the most versatile, most flexible, small arm that anybody can own. Its versatility is unmatched, and its practicality for almost everything is unmatched. And I think it's very misunderstood, very neglected. So I talk about the shotgun a lot. I do that a lot because a lot of other people don't talk about it, or don't talk about it in such a way as like a versatile survival weapon or a versatile defensive weapon. So in that vein, let's get into today's topic. Now, to give credit where it's due, this question is from Journeyman. I would love to hear more about shotgun loads, also crossover shotguns for hunting, survival, drones, breaching, what makes each better for its task, and so on. I recently came into some double-barrel shotguns, too, and they have different chokes for each barrel. Could you go over SOP for patterning different loads? Okay, I'm going to start with patterning and loads, maybe go back on some of the other stuff. Okay, so there is a textbook definition of what a full choke is, and this is off the top of just double check these numbers, but it's something like 70% of your pattern in a 30-inch circle at 40 yards. That's a full choke. That probably doesn't mean much to you. Here's what you need to know about chokes. Choke is just a constriction at the end of a shotgun barrel. Yes, if it's any kind of versatile shotgun, if it's not just a hashtag Me Too thing that they market as a defensive shotgun, like, I got a bead on the end of my barrel, make big hole in target at 5 yards at indoor range. Like, if you care about actually using your shotgun dynamically, you should have sights and you should have chokes. In general, with birdshot, you will get tighter patterns at longer ranges with a tighter choke. And the basic chokes, there are a lot of in-betweens, but just some basic chokes. Cylinder bore, which means no constriction. So you got cylinder, you have skeet, you have improved cylinder, light modified, improved modified, full, extra full, turkey. Those are some of the basic chokes. I think in that order, unless I mix one up in my head. In that order. You might think, well, why wouldn't I just want the fullest, mostest, constrictedest choke all the time? America, more is better. Supersize me. More is not always better. There's a couple of reasons. One, a full choke, you can shoot some slugs through a full choke. It's not recommended. So get rid of some versatility there, especially if you're going to actually train and practice with your gun and shoot a lot of slugs. So you can shoot like a Foster slug through any choke. Not recommended that you do so. So you're losing some there. Also, in general, you'll get the best, and I think it's even recommended on most slug boxes, you'll get the best accuracy and performance out of a cylinder or improved cylinder choke with slugs. Another one is buckshot may or may not abide by those patterns. So with a birdshot, you're usually going to get a tighter pattern with a full choke. That may not be the case with buckshot, especially large buckshot. You may get to a point of diminishing returns. We're actually getting less. So that's that. Also, even for hunting, more is not always better, right? If you're trying to shoot, a quail over dogs and your average shot distance is 10 yards or less, you don't want all of your pellets out of a 12 or even a 20 gauge, or the majority of your pellets hitting that little tiny quail at 10 yards. It's way more than is necessary, and the point that you're shooting it is so you can eat it. So you got to balance that. Now remember I said whatever choke is, in a 30-inch circle, you get X amount of pellets at X amount of yardages. That doesn't really matter to you. Get out there and test your shotgun with your loads and your chokes. Now, how does one do that practically? Get a box of whatever load you hope to use. Start at, let's say, 5 yards. Shoot it a few times. Pattern it, like on a piece of paper or a piece of steel and a bunch of spray paint. But pattern it. Superimpose a picture or a photograph or just a circle the size of the vitals of your target, whether that be a rabbit or a torso person, right? And deduce whether that will be effective or not. Start at 5 yards, go to 10, 15, 20, 25, all the way back to, 75 yards or so, depending on your load and your buckshot load or whatever. But that's how you do it. And yeah, you got to put in the work. I don't know what load is going to shoot best out of your 12 gauge, modified choke gun. You have to do that work. There's a bunch of different buckshot loads, and no, they're not all the same. I know the cheap Rio 9 pellet buckshot is not going to be the same as a good flight control Federal buffered and or copper plated or nickel plated, but it's not going to perform the same. That may or may not make a difference to you, but you have to test out your shot load with your shotgun. And yeah, that's a lot of work and a lot of ammo and probably a lot of recoil. You got to do it. There's really no way around that. Even if we both have 870s with modified chokes, right? Yours and mine could perform completely different. Shotguns can be very individualistic. But if you want a pretty good way to determine and deduce what's your effective range, take the load that you intend on using and the acceptable kill zone of that target that you plan to shoot with it. Again, whether that be, anything from a dove to a grizzly bear, and you superimpose that on the target and you back up 5, 10, 15, and just keep going until, bam, you can't reliably take out that target. Can't ethically take out that target, can't effectively take out that target, and that's your range out of your shotgun for that load with that choke. And again, does that require work? Yes. A lot of people think shotguns are simple because it's like a tube, right, and a shotgun shell. There's a lot to shotguns. There is an art and a science of shotgunning. And if you want to be a connoisseur, a sommelier of the shotgun, you got to put some legwork in, right? You got to put some range time in. But that's a good rule of thumb for testing loads. I'm not going to explain gauges in this. I've explained it a bunch, but, gauges. Shotgun is like opposite day, right? The bigger the number, the smaller the gauge. The same is true with shot. The bigger the number, the smaller the shot. The smallest common one you're probably going to see is 8-shot, but 8, 7.5. Those are for very small birds and or sporting clays, or skeet or clays or whatever you want to call it. But that's the general rule of thumb. Like smaller is better. You might see some 9s, but in general, common stuff you're going to see 8, 7.5. That's good for very small birds. In my opinion, the most versatile bird shot is number 6, lead shot. And number 6 shot. Is it the best for quail? No. Is it the best for pheasant? Maybe, maybe not. Is it the best for rabbits and squirrels? Actually, probably yes. Is it the best for turkey? No. But you could take all those things with number 6 shot. Number 6, if you're just going to have one bird shot, which I don't know why you would, but if you are, number 6 shot's probably your most versatile. It is probably the sweet spot for squirrels and rabbits and things like that. They can actually be pretty tough. You might think, well, a turkey's a lot bigger. Yeah, but you shoot a turkey in the face. So its face is not actually a lot bigger. Its head and neck is actually what you're aiming for on a turkey. So, yeah, number 6 shot is really versatile. And then obviously you go up to bigger shot sizes. However, a lot of the waterfowl, it's federally regulated. And Uncle Sam has deemed that you are not allowed to shoot the government's federal waterfowl with lead shot. You must use steel shot. So steel shot is nowhere near as effective. It just isn't. But it's not toxic, so they make you use it. They say that it's better for the environment or whatever, which I don't understand because lead comes out of the ground. You put it back on the ground, whatever. But let's assume it doesn't matter what you believe or don't believe, or if you care about condors or not. They deem that you must use steel shot for waterfowl. It's a federal thing. So in general, you're moving up to like ducks and geese, you have to use steel shot, which I'm not going to get into today. Just realize that's a thing. Steel plays by different rules. Also, going back to chokes, steel shot, and like, why is a full choke not always better? You generally can't shoot, unless it's designed for it, steel shot out of a full choke, because steel doesn't compress. And you have to use pretty big shot for most things, because steel is really bad for most things. So anyway, just getting off on a tangent there. But you will see bigger shot sizes. When you start getting big enough, you'll start going from letters, or start going from numbers into letters. Things like, B, BB, triple B, T-shot. These are bigger. These are generally things you'll use for waterfowl. Although some of these in lead shot are pretty good for things like coyote. You're getting into that realm where, predator hunting, coyote, things like that. You can be pretty effective with that type of shot. One big misconception, number 4 shot and number 4 buckshot are vastly different. They're a completely different thing. Buckshot is much, much bigger than your numbered shot and your waterfowl shot. Buckshot is for buck and defense against people. Buckshot is substantially bigger. So when somebody says number 4, and they're talking about defense, hopefully, if they know what they're talking about number 4 buckshot and not number 4 bird shot, not like a turkey load. But buckshot is bigger still. Buckshot goes back to numbers. I don't know why, but it just does. And the smallest buckshot I believe that exists is number 4 buck. It also happens to be my favorite buckshot load. A lot of people will say double aught because the military uses it, police use it. I think number 4 is better for most people for most things. A standard load, 12 gauge, 2 3/4 inch shell, just a standard load of number 4 buck is 27 pellets. A Magnum is 41 pellets. You go to, and that's 24 caliber. I know it's a lot of numbers, but you asked for it. It's a shotgun episode. You go to double up buck, that's 9 pellets in a standard and 12 in a Magnum. Yeah, it is 33 caliber, but you get a lot less of them. If you get a 24 caliber pellet going at 1,600 feet a second, 1,300 feet a second, whatever, in the right spot, that is pretty devastating. Doesn't have to be big if it hits a heart, liver, spinal cord. I don't know that it makes much difference whether it's 33 caliber or 24 caliber. Now, granted, each individual pellet is going to do less damage, but because when you start getting big in pellet size, you get a lot less efficient in the stacking of them in a cylinder, like a shotgun shell. You just, in my opinion, you get a lot more. There's also in-betweens, right? Number 1 buck is a really good in the middle of the road buckshot, but buckshot is its own thing. Your classic one, again, military and police, is 9 pellet double aught buck. There are many different variants of buckshot. Buckshot, I could do an entire series. I could probably do, 10 episodes on buckshot. Yeah, I probably could. It's, again, shotgunning is an art and a science. But let's get back to the listener's question because I probably got way off topic. All right, he asked about survival shotguns. Now, I've done entire episodes, which I'm not going to insult your intelligence. You probably know how to use a search engine. I've done many episodes on go-to survival shotguns. Here's what I think makes a good all-around survival shotgun as opposed to a one-trick pony, like just a straight-up birding shotgun. The ability to take chokes and proper sights. And by proper sights, I mean like rifle sights on a smoothbore shotgun, not a rifled barrel shotgun. That's a specialty thing. You're getting rid of all the versatility of the shotgun because you live in a state that infringes you so hard that you can't even use a rifle in deer season. That's why you have a rifled barrel shotgun. It gets rid of all the versatility. Now you just have a slug gun. You basically have a less accurate 45-70 at that point. So not you're getting all the versatility of the shotgun. So I'm not talking about a rifle barrel shotgun. I'm talking about a smooth barreled shotgun with rifled sights, and or it's 2026 the ability to take an optic and the ability to take a choke and a reasonable length barrel. Now, shotguns, if you reload, you know that shotguns take pistol powder, or pistols take shotgun powder. They take basically the same powders. 700X, 800X, blue dot, red dot, clays, right? It takes same powder. You don't need a long barrel. You're not gaining velocity. 18 inches is the legal limit for some whatever reason. You can argue whether that's good or bad, but it is. In America, you need to have an 18-inch barrel on your shotgun unless you want to go the, SBS route, short barrel shotgun route. But 18 inches is way longer than you need to achieve good velocity out of a shotgun. So you don't really need or want anything longer than that. 18, 20, 21-inch barrel, more than you need. Most hunting shotguns are going to have a 28, 30, 32-inch barrel. It's superfluous. You're gaining extra weight, less maneuverability, and you're gaining nothing. So a good all-around survival shotgun, the ability to take chokes, because chokes adds a great deal of versatility to your effective range and your different shot patterns, and the overall utilitarian nature of your shotgun. So chokes, a smooth bore, obviously, and some kind of good sighting system. Not a bead, not a vent rib, sights, like a front and a rear sight. Not a bird hunting shotgun. Now, you can take birds with a aforementioned all-around good survival shotgun. You can do it. It's not as good, obviously. I'm not going to go try and shoot I wouldn't try to compete and shoot a round of, skeet with all-around survival shotgun. But you certainly can shoot moving targets out of the air with a survival shotgun. You just use the front sight like it's a bead. We're talking about all-around versatile shotgun here. We're not talking about a specialty duck hunting shotgun or a specialty deer hunting with slug shotgun. That said, a good smooth bore shotgun with rifle sights can be really effective on deer and elk and things like that with Foster slugs or Bernanke slugs. He didn't ask specifically about slugs, but both Foster and Bernanke slugs are meant to be shot through a smooth bore barrel, and they do pretty well. Depending on the shotgun, and again, you have to pattern your gun. Don't just, I got a shotgun and just go to Walmart and buy the cheapest box of slugs and expect it to shoot where you're aiming. I hope you wouldn't do that with a rifle. You wouldn't just buy a rifle, not sight it in, and buy the cheapest ammo at Walmart in 30-06 and be like, oh, yeah, and then be surprised when you don't hit where you're aiming. I don't know why you would do that on a shotgun, but it seems like people think they can get away with it because it's a shotgun. There's some myth that it's this crazy, unique gun that you don't have to aim. You absolutely have to aim a shotgun. You might aim it differently. The rear sight may be your eye on like a bird hunting shotgun, and then maybe snap shooting, but you still have to aim. You don't think you have to aim, go try and shoot some clay targets out of the air with your eyes closed. See how well that works out for you. You absolutely have to aim. He asked about some pretty specialty stuff. I've talked about it before. Some of the other flexibility of the shotgun. He asked about drones. Shoot it with whatever you got in the shotgun that you have for big birds, right? Number 6 shot would probably work fine for drones. I haven't shot a lot of drones because I don't have a lot of money to be buying dozens of drones to shoot them out of the air, but I imagine 6 shot would work just fine. He also asked about breaching. Now, as somebody that was, an assaultman, a sapper, a breacher in the military, if you don't know what you're doing, probably don't, so you don't blow your fingers off. There are specialty breaching rounds and specialty breaching chokes and or exact hold-off distances that you should know and gloves that you should wear. So if you don't know that stuff and you think you're just going to shoot a door like Hollywood and it's going to swing open, you might actually shoot the door and the door's still closed and you're missing some fingers and maybe you've put out an eye. So unless you know what you're doing breaching, probably don't do that. However, there are specialty breaching rounds. They can usually be like a frangible round, like a frangible slug, or more common like a rubber-plated birdshot. Generally what's used for breaching. And I know I don't even have TV, and I haven't had TV for so long, but I imagine in the movies they shoot the lock. That's not actually what you usually do when you're breaching. I'm not going to say never, but in general, you don't shoot the lock. You shoot the hinges on the opposite side of the door from the lock. Not always, but in general. So whatever you're seeing, if you see people just shooting locks and they just swing open, Right? That's Hollywood, right? Don't get your tactics from Hollywood. Consider that your public service announcement for the day. But breaching rounds, breaching absolutely is a thing, and a shotgun is fantastic for it. You can breach with the all-around survival shotgun we talked about, but a lot of times breaching is a specialty shotgun and a specialty skill, and it does require some practice and some pretty legit safety precautions. So if you're going to do it, you really should know what you're doing. You could really hurt yourself or somebody else if you don't know. If you just think you've never done it, you're just going to run up to a door and shoot a metal lock with your shotgun. I hope it works out for you, but I would not be surprised if you lost some fingers or really damaged some nerves and or your face. So don't do that unless you know what you're doing. Now going back to the birdshot, I think there's something I should mention. Just don't just assume because it's number 6 shot out of your modified choke that it's going to pattern the same as the load you've already tested, right? Just like, going back, you got a 30-06, right? You could get 150 grain ammunition, and you could have a Federal, a Winchester, and a Remington, and they could all shoot to different places. Similar with a shotgun. You could get number 6 shot, and you could have a Winchester, a Remington, Federal, and all 3 of those loads could pattern completely differently because of wad technology, because of velocity, because of powder, because of one just likes to play nicer in your choke. There's an art and a science to shotgunning. So don't just assume because they're number 6 shot, boom, then because you shot this load at 40 yards and it patterned okay, that this load is going to pattern okay. You have to test it. He asked about survival shotgun, what makes it better at its task. Okay, here's the thing. It's not. It's a generalist weapon, much like the scout rifle is a generalist weapon. The scout rifle is not the best hunting rifle. It's not. It's a totally, completely adequate hunting rifle for most things. It's not as good as a dedicated general hunting rifle. It's also not the best fighting rifle. It's a completely mediocre fighting rifle if you have to press it into that. It's a scout rifle made for scouts. It's a general purpose rifle. If you're familiar with that concept, it's not better at either one of those things. Just like the survival shotgun. It's not better at its intended task than really anything else. It's good at a broad variety of tasks. That's why I consider a good all-around survival shotgun. Again, is it the best for breaching? No, a dedicated breaching shotgun is better for breaching. Is it the best at duck hunting? No, a dedicated waterfowl shotgun is better for duck hunting. Is it better or great for shooting, clay targets out of the air? No, a good fine double over and under is going to be better for that. But that duck shotgun is going to be really bad for breaching. The breaching shotgun is going to be comically ineffective at shooting targets out of the air. Right? So the survival shotgun is kind of adequate for pretty much any task. Not the best, not great even, but decent. With decent sights and a decent slug that you've patterned out of your gun, you're probably good to hit a man-sized target or a deer and elk-sized target at, depending on your shotgun, 100, 150 yards even, if you know what you're doing and you're good with it. Also, if you pattern your buckshot, you don't just assume it's going to do well, but you can get good buckshot loads out of some shotguns that will pattern pretty well for defense and or hunting, medium-sized game out to 60, 70 yards or more. If you do the work and really find a load that works well out of your shotgun. It's also really good for, room clearing if you have to do it. So it's not a great special purpose. It's not like, here's how I'm going to put this. Pretty much everything in firearms is a give and take. So you got to figure out what you want. A good general purpose survival shotgun, again, is not going to be the best duck hunting shotgun. But unless you see the future, and I don't, right? Unless you see the future and you're talking about a broad range survival, you're going out to do a broad spectrum of things, you don't know whether you're going to have to shoot a grouse to feed your family, or you're going to see a deer, or you're going to get into a shootout inside a building, right? So a broad spectrum survival shotgun can do all those things. So no, it's not going to be the best at a specific task than a specific gun tailored to that task. But it's going to be good at a broad spectrum of stuff. So I think that's a misunderstanding. if you could see the future and you knew you were going to get into XYZ, you'd have a gun specifically tailored for that best situation. Or, more realistically, you could if you could see the future, you probably arrange it so you could avoid the situation altogether, because getting shot at is not fun, and getting shot is even less fun. And dying, well, right? So I don't see the future, and you don't. But the shotgun is the most versatile all-around survival long gun, in my opinion, because it can do all those things, from a mourning dove out of the air to a grizzly bear stop to a good door-kicking gun to breaching to many other things. So I hope this made sense and was coherent. I hope the listener that asked the question, Journeyman, and many others out there that are kind of confused about the shotgun, gained a little bit more understanding. The shotgun is a very complex topic, and I think that's why maybe a lot of people that don't have a lot of experience shy away from it, because they don't understand it. Therefore, they malign it or just ignore it altogether. But if you're serious about survival guns, versatility, you may consider making it kind of a core backbone of your survival arsenal. Anyway, with that, guys, I appreciate you. Appreciate all that you do. Kind of seems like a big chunk of this was tactical tips. So, in light of that, maybe we just go to the tactical verse of the day. But he who endures till the end will be saved. I didn't plan this out. I just went through the last screenshot of Bible verse I had on my phone. It's a good one, though. But he who endures to the end will be saved. When they persecute you in this city, flee to another. Those are the words of Christ. But he who endures to the end will be saved. When they persecute you in this city, flee to another. Now, I don't think I need to do a lot of commentary on that. Kind of Jesus. It's a good verse, and it's a good verse applied to survival. I appreciate you guys, and have a blessed day.